Brothers and sisters, Namaskar. Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, students and scholars of English language, literature and grammar, writing any lesson, presentation of the lesson is really a great art of an artist or author that he presents to his different experiences of his life and skills. We can imagine his skills by going through his words, thoughts and ideas that he expressed through his works. Like that, the last lesson written by Alphonse Daudet. Alphonse Daudet, who is the author of this lesson, born in 1840. Historically, it was the 19th century period. What was happening at that time? We read it as, in English literature, as the time of Romantic age. There was French Revolution in 1879. Before that, Queen Victoria came at the throne in 1837, and it was the time of 1857 when there was the first battle started by Indians for freedom. Swami Vivekananda, who born in 1861, in the same decade Mahatma Gandhi born in 1869. In 1885 we read it as the establishment of Congress. In 1892 it was the demise of the mystic white word middleman, and in 1893 it was the birth of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, and Swami Vivekananda went to the USA. So in this century, Alphonse Daudet, born in 1840 and he died in 1897. It was a French novelist. Actually, William Wordsworth and S.T. Coleridge, they started writing lyrical ballads in 1798. In the 19th century, we read Alphonse Daudet, who was a French novelist and short story writer. The last lesson is set in the days of the Franco-Prussian War. There was Franco-Prussian War in 1870 to 1871. It was the time of 19th and 20th century period, revolution in industrialization. So, England was growing in its business, in which France was defeated by Prussia, led by Bismarck. Prussia then consisted of what now are the nations of Germany, Poland, and parts of Austria. In this story, the French districts of Alsace and Lorraine have passed into Prussian hands. I started for school very late that morning, was in great dread of scolding, especially because M. Hamel had said that he would question us on participles, and I did not know the first word about them. In the first sentence, he started narrating his words with past indefinite tense by using second form. Different type of verbs and forms he is using for presenting this lesson interesting. It is full of varieties with grammatical topics, different topics used by the author while writing this literature. For a moment, I thought of running away and spending the day out of doors. It was so warm, so bright. The birds were chirping at the edge of the woods, and in the open field back of the sawmill, the Prussian soldiers were drilling. It was all much more tempting than the rule for participles, but I had the strength to resist and hurried off to school. उस दिन विद्यालय के लिए सुबह मैं देर से चला था. I started for school very late that morning. और मुझे डर था and was in great dread कि मुझे डांट पड़ेगी. Of a scolding, खास तौर पर especially because M. Hamel ने कहा था. M. Hamel had said कि वह हमसे पार्टिसिपल पर प्रश्न पूछेगा. That he would question us on participles. And उसके बारे में मैं पहला शब्द भी नहीं जानता था. And I did not know the first word about them. क्षण भर के लिए तो मेरे मन में विचार आया. For a moment I thought of running away. मेरे मन में विचार आया कि मैं दूर भाग जाऊं और कहीं जाकर खुले वातावरण में दिन को व्यतीत करूं. And spending the day out of doors. मौसम बहुत गर्म व सुहावना था. It was so warm, so bright. और धूप निकली हुई थी. So bright. The birds were chirping at the edge of the woods. वन के किनारे पक्षी चहचहा रहे थे. And in the open field back of the sawmill, the Prussian soldiers were drilling. और आरामिल के पीछे खेत में प्रशिया के सैनिक ड्रिल कर रहे थे. यह ज्यादा आकर्षक लग रहा था. It was all much more tempting. पार्टिसिपल के नियमों से भी ज्यादा than the rule for participles. लेकिन मुझ में आत्म संयम की शक्ति थी. But I had the strength to resist. तथा मैं विद्यालय की तरफ दौड़ पड़ा और hurried off to school. When I passed the town hall, there was a crowd in front of the bulletin board. For the last 2 years, all our bad news had come from there. The lost battles, the draft, the orders of the commanding officer, and I thought to myself, without stopping, what can be the matter now? जब मैं टाउन हॉल के नज़दीक से जा रहा था तो सूचना बोर्ड के सामने बहुत लोग एकत्रित थे. हमारी सारी बुरी खबरें वहाँ से पिछले 2 सालों से ही आई थी. युद्ध में हार, सेना में भर्ती, सैनिक अधिकारियों के आदेश. और मैंने बिना रुके अपने आप से सोचा, अब क्या बात है. फिर then, जब मैं बहुत तेज भागकर जा रहा था. Then as I hurried by as fast as I could go. तो वेक्टर लोहार ने जो अपने शागिर्द के साथ सूचना बोर्ड पर पढ़ रहा था, the blacksmith watcher who was there with his apprentice reading the bulletin, called after me. मुझे पीछे से आवाज देकर कहा, Don't go so fast. इतनी जल्दी मत भागो. तुम्हारे पास विद्यालय पहुंचने के लिए भी काफी समय है. You will get to your school in plenty of time. मैंने सोचा, I thought कि वह मेरा मजाक बना रहा है. He was making fun of me. And मैं M. Hamel के छोटे से बाग में हाँफते हुए पहुंच गया. And reached M. Hamel's little garden all out of breath. अक्सर usually जब विद्यालय शुरू होता है, when school begins, तो बहुत ज़्यादा भाग दौड़ का शोर होता है. There was a great bustle. यह शोर सड़क पर सुनाई देता था, which could be heard out in the street. डेस्कों को खोलने तथा बंद करने का शोर, the opening and closing of desk. अपने हाथों को कानों पर रखकर सबका एक साथ मिलकर पाठ को जोर से दोहराना. Lessons repeated in unison, very loud. ताकि हम पाठ को ठीक तरीके से याद कर सकें. With our hands over our ears to understand better, and the teacher's great ruler, the rapping on the table. मेज पर अध्यापक के डंडे का खटखटाना. But now it was all so still. लेकिन अब सब कुछ चुपचाप था. इस बात पर मुझे पूरा विश्वास था. I had counted on the commotion to get to my desk without being seen. But of course that day everything had to be as quiet as Sunday morning. Through the window I saw my classmates already in their places, and M. Hamill walking up and down with his terrible iron ruler under his arm. I had to open the door and go in before everybody. You can imagine how I blushed and how frightened I was. But nothing happened. M. Hamill saw me and said very kindly, "Go to your place quickly, little French. We were beginning without you." I jumped over the bench and sat down at my desk. Not till then, when I had got a little over my fright, did I see that our teacher had on his beautiful green coat, his frilled shirt, and the little black silk cap, all embroidered, that he never wore except on inspection and prize days. Besides, the whole school seemed so strange and solemn. But the thing that surprised me most was to see on the back benches that were always empty, the village people sitting quietly like ourselves. Old Husher with his three-cornered hat, the former mayor, the former postmaster, and several others besides. Every day looked sad, and Hauser had brought an old primer, thumbed at the edges, and he held it open on his knees with his great spectacles lying across the pages. While I was wondering about it all, M. Hamill mounted his chair, and in the same grave and gentle tone which he had used to me, and said, "My children, this is the last lesson I shall give you. The order has come down. The order has come from Berlin to teach only German in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine. The new master comes tomorrow. This is your last French lesson. I want you to be very attentive." What a thunderclap these words were to me. My last French lesson. Why, I hardly knew how to write. I should never learn anymore. I must stop there then. Oh, how sorry I was for not learning my lesson, for seeking birds' eggs, or going sliding on the Saar, my books that had seemed such a nuisance a while ago, so heavy to carry. My grammar and my history of the saints were old friends now that I couldn't give up. And M. Hamill too, the idea that he was going away, that I should never see him again, made me forget all about his ruler and how cranky he was. Poor man, I was in honor of this last lesson that he had put on his fine Sunday clothes, and now I understood why the old men of the village were sitting there in the back of the room. It was because they were sorry too that they had not gone to school more. It was their way of thanking our master for his 40 years of faithful service and of showing their respect for the country that was theirs no more. While I was thinking of all this, I heard my name called. It was my turn to recite. What would I not have given to be able to say that dreadful rule for the participle all through, very loud and clear and without one mistake, but I got mixed up on the first words and stood there, holding on to my desk, my heart beating and not daring to look up. I heard M. say to me, I once called you little French, you must be bad enough. See how it is every day we have said to ourselves, but I have plenty of time, I'll learn it tomorrow. And now you see where we have come out. That's the great trouble with Alsace. She puts off learning till tomorrow. Now those fellows out there will have the right to say to you, how is it you pretend to be Frenchman and yet you can neither speak nor write your own language? But you are not the worst, poor little friend. We have all great deal to reapproach ourselves with. Your parents were not anxious enough to have you learn. They prefer to put you to work on a farm or at the mines or at the mills so as to have a little more money. And I have been to blame also. Have I not often sent to you water my flowers instead of learning your lesson? And when I wanted to go fishing, did I not just give you a holiday? Then from one thing to another, and Hamel went on to talk of the French language, saying that it was the most beautiful language in the world, the clearest, the most logical, that we must guard it among us and never forget it, because when people are enslaved, as long as they hold fast to their language, it is as if they had the key to their prison. Then he opened a grammar and read us our lesson. I was amazed to see how well understood it. All he said seemed so easy, I think too, that I had never listened so carefully, and that he had never explained everything with so much patience. It seemed almost as if the poor man wanted to give us all he knew before going away, and so put it all into our heads at one stroke. After the grammar, we had a lesson in writing that day, and Hamel had new copies for us, written in a beautiful round hand, France, Alsace, France, Alsace. They looked like little flags floating everywhere in the schoolroom, hung from the road to the top of our desk. You ought to have seen how everyone sat to work and how quiet it was. The only sound was the scratching of the pens over the paper. Once some beetles flew in, but nobody paid any attention to them, not even the little less ones who worked right on dressing their fish hoops, as if that was French too. On the roof the pigeons cawed very low, and I thought to myself, will they make some sign in German, even the pigeons? Whenever I looked up from my writing, I saw Hamel sitting motionless in his chair and gazing first at one thing, then at another, as if he wanted to fix in his mind just how everything looked in that little school farm. Then see, for 40 years he had been there in the same place, with his garden outside the window and his class in front of him, just like that. Only the desk and the benches had been one smooth, the walnut trees in the garden were taller, and the oak vine that he had planted himself twined about the windows to the roof. How it must have broken his heart to leave it all, to Poor man, to hear his sister moving about in the room above, packing their trunks, for they must leave the country next day. But he had the courage to hear every lesson to the very last. After the writing, we had a lesson in history, and then the babies chanted their ba, beep, beep, boo, bo. Down there at the back of the room, old usher had put on his spectacles and holding his primer in both hands, spelled the letters with them. You could see that he, too, was crying. His voice trembled with emotion, and it was so funny to hear him that we all wanted to laugh and cry. How well I remember it, that lesson, that last lesson. All at once the church clock struck 12, then the Angelus. At the same moment the trumpets of the Prussian returning from drill sounded under our window. M. Hamel stood up, very pale, in his chair. I never saw him look so tall. My friends, said he, I. But something choked him, he could not go on. Then he turned to the blackboard, took a piece of chalk, and bearing on with all his might, he wrote as fast as he could. Vive la France, then he stopped and leaned his head against the wall, and without a word, he made a gesture to us with his hand. School dismissed, you may go. This is all about the first lesson, that is related to the experiences, personal experiences of the author Alphonse Daudet. Thank you.